The rain hit Park Dong-yoon's roof like angry fists. He sat at his small wooden table, eating cold rice and listening to the storm. Thunder crashed outside his farmhouse. Lightning lit up his windows every few seconds. Dong-yoon was 45 years old. His hands were rough from 30 years of farm work. His face was brown from the sun. He lived alone now. His wife Minji had died 2 years ago from cancer. The farm felt too quiet without her laughter. The storm was the worst he had seen in years. Wind shook his house. Rain poured down like a waterfall. He worried about his rice fields. The young plants could not handle this much water. Around midnight, something changed. The thunder got louder, but this thunder was different. It did not sound like normal thunder. It sounded like metal breaking. Dong-yoon put down his rice bowl. He walked to his window and looked out. Lightning flashed again. In that quick light, he saw something falling from the sky. It was not rain. It was something big and dark. Crash. The sound was so loud that Dong-yoon's dishes fell off his table. His house shook like an earthquake. Car alarms started going off in the village below. Dogs began barking everywhere. Dong-yoon grabbed his flashlight and raincoat. His heart was beating fast. Maybe a plane had crashed. Maybe someone needed help. He had to check. He opened his door. The wind almost knocked him down. Rain hit his face like cold bullets. He put his head down and walked toward the crash site. His flashlight beam danced in the dark. The crash was in his lower rice field. As he got closer, he could smell something strange. It smelled like burning metal and something else. Something he had never smelled before. His flashlight found the crater first. It was 15 feet wide and 3 feet deep. Steam rose from the hole. The rice plants around it were completely gone, burned away. Then his light found the creature. Dong-yoon stopped walking. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He blinked hard, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him. The thing was huge, maybe 8 feet tall, even lying down. It had scales like a snake, but bigger. Dark green scales that looked almost black in the rain. It had 2 arms and 2 legs, like a person, but its head was long and narrow, like a dragon from old stories. Wings, it had wings. Big wings that looked torn and burned. They were spread out in the mud, not moving. The creature was wearing some kind of armor. Dark metal pieces covered its chest and arms. But the armor was broken. Holes were burned through it. Silver liquid dripped from the holes. Blood, Dong-yoon realized. Alien blood. For a long time, Dong-yoon just stood there. Rain soaked through his coat. His flashlight shook in his hand. This could not be real. Things like this did not happen to rice farmers. The creature's chest moved up and down. It was breathing. It was alive. Dong-yoon took a step closer. Then another. The creature's eyes were closed. Its breathing was slow and weak. More silver blood pooled under its body. Without thinking, Dong-yoon reached out and touched the creature's arm. The scales felt warm, real. The creature was real. "Hello?" Dong-yoon whispered. "Can you hear me?" The creature did not move, but its breathing got a little faster. Dong-yoon looked at the burns on the creature's chest. They were bad. Really bad. If this was a person, they would die without help. Maybe this creature would die too. He thought about calling the police. Or the military. But what would they do? Lock the creature up? Study it? Maybe hurt it? The creature made a small sound, like a whimper. It was in pain. Dong-yoon made his choice. He ran back to his house. He grabbed his tractor and a rope. He drove back to the crater as fast as he could. The creature was still there, still breathing, getting. The creature into his barn was the hardest thing Dong-yoon had ever done. It weighed as much as a cow, maybe more, but he managed to drag it out of the rain. His barn was warm and dry. He had hay and old blankets. He made a bed for the creature in an empty stall. Then he got his first aid kit. The kit was meant for farm animals, cows and pigs and chickens. But wounds were wounds, right? Dong-yoon cleaned the creature's burns with water and soap. The creature woke up once and made a scary hissing sound. But when Dong-yoon kept working gently, it relaxed again. The silver blood stopped flowing after he'd bandaged the worst cuts. The creature's breathing got steadier. Its body felt less hot. By sunrise, Dong-yoon was exhausted. He sat in the hay next to the creature and watched it sleep. In the morning light he could see it better. The creature's face was not as scary as he had thought. It looked strong but not mean. Its scales were actually beautiful. They changed color slightly in the light. Dark green to almost blue. Its hands had claws, but they were not very sharp, more like thick fingernails. Its feet were the same way. This creature was built for flying, not fighting. The creature's eyes opened. They were gold. Bright gold like coins. They looked at Dong-Yun with surprise, then fear. The creature tried to sit up but fell back down with a grunt of pain. "It's okay," Dong-Yun said softly. "You're safe. I won't hurt you." The creature stared at him. Its golden eyes were very intelligent. It was thinking. Trying to understand, Dong-Yun held up his hands to show he had no weapons. He pointed to the bandages on the creature's chest. Then he pointed to himself. "I helped you," he said slowly. "You were hurt. I helped." The creature looked at the bandages, then back at Dong-Yun. It made a sound, not a hiss this time. Something softer. Musical, almost. It was trying to talk. Dong-Yun smiled. "Are you hungry?" he asked. He made eating motions with his hands. The creature watched him carefully. Then it nodded. Just a little bit, but it was definitely a nod. Dong Hyen went to his house and came back with rice, vegetables, and some leftover soup. He set the food down near the creature and stepped back. The creature looked at the food for a long time. Then it looked at Dong-Yun. Its golden eyes seemed to ask a question. "Why are you helping me?" Dong-Yun did not know how to answer in words the creature could understand. So he just smiled and pointed to the food again. The creature reached out slowly and picked up a piece of carrot. It sniffed it. Then it took a small bite. Its eyes went wide with surprise. It ate everything. Every grain of rice, every piece of vegetable. When it was done, it looked at Dong-Yun again. This time its expression was different. It was grateful. Dong-Yun brought more food and water. The creature ate and drank like it had not had real food in a long time. When it was full, it lay back down in the hay. It pointed to itself and made a sound. "Kauros," it said slowly. "Kauros," Dong-Yun repeated. "Your name is Kauros." The creature nodded. Then it pointed at Dong-Yun. "Dong-Yun," he said. "Park Dong-Yun." "Don Hyen," Kauros tried to say. The sounds were hard for him to make. They looked at each other. A human farmer and an alien soldier. Two beings from different worlds. But in that moment, they understood each other perfectly. Outside, the storm was ending. The sun was starting to shine through the clouds. But Dong-Yun knew his quiet life was over. Everything was about to change. 3 days passed. Dong-Yun brought food to Kauros every morning, noon, and night. The alien creature was getting stronger. His wounds were healing faster than Dong-Yun expected. On the second day, Kauros tried to stand up. He was wobbly like a newborn calf. His legs shook, but he could walk a few steps before sitting down again. "Slow," Dong-Yun said, holding up his hand. "Take it slow." Kauros nodded. He was learning to understand some Korean words. His golden eyes watched Dong-Yun's face when he talked. He was trying to learn. Dong-Yun was learning too. He brought a notebook and pen to the barn. When Kauros made sounds, Dong-Yun wrote them down. When Dong-Yun said Korean words, Kauros tried to copy them. "Water," Dong-Yun said, holding up a cup. "Water," Kauros repeated. His voice was deep and musical. The sounds were hard for him to make, but he was trying. "Rice," Dong-Yun said, showing him a bowl. "Rice," Kauros said. "Good," Dong-Yun smiled. "Very good." Kauros seemed happy when Dong-Yun praised him. His scales would change color slightly. They got brighter when he was pleased. On the third day, Kauros started drawing in the dirt. He used his claw to make pictures. First he drew circles, big circles, and small circles. "Stars," he said in his own language. Then he tried in Korean. "Star?" Dong-Yun looked at the circles. "You come from the stars?" Kauros nodded. He drew more pictures. Ships. They looked like the shape that had crashed in his field. Then he drew creatures that looked like himself. Many of them. "Your people," Dong-Yun said. "Your family." Kauros made a sad sound. He pointed to the sky. Then he touched his chest where his wounds were. He drew more pictures, fighting, weapons, fire, war, Dong-Yun said quietly. You were in a war. Calrose nodded. He drew something else, dark shapes with tentacles. Ugly shapes that made Dong-Yun feel cold just looking at them. Bad, Calrose said in Korean. Very bad. He pointed at the dark shapes. Then he made a chomping motion with his jaws. Like eating, they eat things? Dong-Yun asked. Calrose nodded hard. He drew a planet. A beautiful round planet with what looked like plants and cities. Then he drew the dark creatures covering it. When he was done, the planet was black. They eat worlds? Dong-Yun whispered. Calrose looked at Dong-Yun with serious eyes. He pointed at the ground under their feet. Earth. Then he shook his head and made a worried sound. They want to eat Earth too? Calrose looked very sad. He nodded slowly. Dong-Yun felt cold. When? Calrose held up his claws. He counted on them. Not many claws. Soon that afternoon, Dong-Yun took Calrose outside for the first time. The alien moved slowly, but his steps were strong. They walked through Dong-Yun's rice fields. The young rice plants were green and healthy. They had survived the storm. Water sparkled in the terraced fields like mirrors. Calrose stopped walking. He stared at the rice plants. His golden eyes went wide. What? Dong-Yun asked. Calrose knelt down carefully. He touched a rice plant with one claw, very gently, like it might break. Grow, he said in Korean. You grow. Yes, I grow food. Calrose looked around at all the fields. Hundreds of rice plants, vegetables growing in neat rows, fruit trees on the hillside. You make life, Calrose said slowly. I am a farmer. I grow things. Calrose stood up. He looked at Dong-Yun with a strange expression, like he was seeing something he had never seen before. My people, Calrose said, we fight. We destroy. We do not make life. Everyone can learn to grow things, Dong-Yun said. Calrose shook his head. We are made for war, born for war, only war. That's not true, Dong-Yun said. Look, he led Calrose to a small vegetable garden near the house. He gave Calrose a small shovel. Then he showed him how to dig a hole. Try, Dong-Yun said. Calrose held the shovel awkwardly. His claws were not made for tools, but he tried. He dug a small hole in the soft earth. Dong-Yun gave him a seed, a bean seed. Plant it, Dong-Yun said. He showed Calrose how to put the seed in the hole and cover it with dirt. Calrose planted the seed. His big hands were surprisingly gentle. Now water, Dong-Yun said. They watered the planted seed. Calrose watched the water soak into the dirt. How long? Calrose asked. A few days, maybe a week, and it will grow? If we take care of it. Calrose stared at the place where he had planted the seed. I made life? You helped life, Dong-Yun said. That's what farmers do. That evening they sat in the barn. Calrose was eating rice and vegetables. He ate slowly now, tasting everything. At first he had eaten like he was starving. Now he enjoyed the food. Why? Calrose asked suddenly. Why what? Why help me? I am enemy. My people come to take your world. Dong-Yun thought about the question. It was a good question. Why had he helped? You were hurt, Dong-Yun said finally. I don't like to see things suffer. But I am not your kind. So? Calrose tilted his head. So? My wife used to say something, Dong-Yun said. She said hungry is hungry, hurt is hurt. It doesn't matter who you are. Your wife was wise? Yes, she was. They sat quietly for a while. Then Calrose spoke again. My people will come, he said. Soon they look for me. Will they hurt me? Calrose looked sad. Maybe they do not understand. They see only enemy or friend, nothing else. What will you tell them? I will tell them about you, about this. He pointed at the food, about the seed we planted. Will they listen? I don't know, Calrose said honestly, but I will try. The next morning, Dong-Yun woke up early. He went to check on Calrose. The alien was not in the barn. Dong-Yun found him in the vegetable garden. Calrose was kneeling next to the place where they had planted the seed. He was very still. What are you doing? Dong-Yun asked. Watching, Calrose said. For what? For life, Dongyun smiled. It won't grow today. Seeds take time. I know. But I want to watch anyway. Dongyun sat down next to him. They watched the dirt together. It looked like ordinary dirt. But under it, something amazing was happening. Life was beginning. Dongyun, Karo said quietly, yes? When my people come, they will not understand what you have done. They will think you are weak. Am I weak? Karos looked at him. No, you are the strongest person I have ever met. Why? Because you help your enemies. Because you grow life instead of destroying it. Because you are not afraid to be kind. That afternoon, Karos' armor started making sounds, beeping sounds like a radio. What is that? Dongyun asked. Karos touched a piece of his armor. His face went serious. My people, he said, they found me. When will they come? Karos listened to the sounds his armor was making. Tomorrow, maybe sooner. Dongyun felt afraid, but he also felt determined. Then we should check on our seed, he said. They went to the garden. Karos knelt down and looked closely at the dirt. His golden eyes went very wide. Look, he whispered. A tiny green shoot was pushing up through the soil. The seed was growing. I made life, Karos said with wonder. I really made life. Yes, Dongyun said. You did. Karos touched the tiny plant gently. I want my people to see this. Will they understand? I hope so, Karos said. I really hope so. In the distance, they could hear a strange humming sound, like giant bees, but it was not bees. It was ships. Alien ships. They were coming. The humming sound got louder. Dongyun looked up at the sky. 3 dark shapes were coming down from the clouds. They looked like giant bronze teardrops with wings. My people, Karos said. His voice was worried. The ships were huge, much bigger than Dongyun had expected. Each one was as long as his entire farm. They moved slowly, like they weighed 1,000,000 tons. What should I do? Dongyun asked. Stay calm, Karos said. Do not run. Do not act afraid. They can smell fear. Can smell fear? Yes, like animals. They are hunters first. The first ship landed in Dongyun's lower rice field. The ground shook. Steam rose from under the ship. All of Dongyun's young rice plants were crushed flat. Month of work, gone, but Dongyun did not complain. There were bigger things to worry about now. The second ship landed in his vegetable garden. The third ship landed near his house. They formed a triangle around the farm. Dongyun felt trapped. They are being careful, Karos said. That is good. If they thought you were dangerous, they would have just destroyed everything. Doors opened on the bottom of the ships. Ramps came down. Steam poured out like dragon breath. Figures walked. Down the ramps. They looked like Karos, but bigger, stronger. Their armor was shiny and complete. They carried weapons that glowed with blue light. How many? Dongyun whispered. 12 warriors, 1 squad leader. Are they angry? I don't know. Yet. The warriors spread out around the farm. They moved like soldiers, fast and smooth. Their golden eyes looked everywhere at once. One warrior was bigger than the others. His armor had red markings. He walked straight toward Dongyun and Karos. Squad leader Vorthek? Karos said quietly. He is my commander. Vorthek stopped 10 feet away. He looked at Karos, then at Dongyun. His eyes were cold and hard. He spoke to Karos in their musical language. His voice sounded angry. Karos answered back. He pointed to his bandages. Then to Dongyun, then to the ground. Vorthek's eyes narrowed. He raised his weapon and pointed it at Dongyun. No. Karos jumped in front of Dongyun. He saved my life. Speak common tongue, Vorthek said in broken Korean. So the primitive can understand his judgment. Primitive. The word stung, but Dongyun said nothing. You were missing for 3 rotations, Vorthek said to Karos. We thought you were dead. Or captured. I was dying, Karos said. This human found me. He healed my wounds. He fed me. He saved my life. Why? Vorthek looked at Dongyun like he was studying a bug. Dongyun cleared his throat. He was hurt. I helped. You helped an enemy soldier? I helped someone who was suffering. Vorthek made a sound like a laugh, but not a happy one. Foolish! We are here to evacuate your species before the swarm arrives. You should fear us. Should I? The question seemed to surprise Vorthek. Yes, we could destroy your entire world. With these 3 ships, but you won't. How do you know? Dongyun pointed at Kalros. Because he told me you fight the dark things, the things that eat worlds. You fight to protect life, not destroy it? Vorthek looked at Kalros sharply. You told this primitive about the swarm? He deserved to know, Kalros said. That information is classified. He is not our enemy. All primitives are potential enemies or potential slaves. Nothing more. Dongyun felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry would not help. Are you hungry? Dongyun asked. Vorthek blinked. What? Are you hungry? Any of you? The other warriors looked confused. They had never been asked that question by a prisoner before. We do not eat primitive food, Vorthek said. Why not? It is ... Quoth Vorthek struggled for words. Beneath us. Kalros ate my food. It made him stronger. Vorthek looked at Kalros. Is this true? Kalros nodded. He cooks food with care. It tastes like ... nothing we have ever eaten. Impossible. Food is fuel, nothing more. Try it, Dongyun said. What harm could it do? Vorthek laughed again. You want to poison us. If I wanted to hurt you, would I do it with soup? One of the younger warriors stepped forward. He was smaller than the others. His armor had green markings. Commander, he said carefully, I am curious about this food. Riker, Vorthek snapped. Do not show weakness. Is curiosity weakness? Riker asked. Vorthek did not answer that. Dongyun walked slowly toward his house. The warriors tensed. Their weapons tracked him. I'm going to cook, Dongyun said. You can watch me. You can test the food. You can even stop me if you want. He disappeared into his kitchen. Through the window he could see the warriors talking. They looked confused. Dongyun cooked his best meal. Rice with vegetables, soup with fresh herbs, fish from the stream. He added special spices that his wife had taught him to use. The smell drifted out of the kitchen windows. One by one, the warriors removed their helmets. They sniffed the air. Their faces showed surprise. What is that? Riker asked. Food, Kalros said. Real food? Dongyun came out with a tray. He set it on an old wooden table in his yard. Steam rose from the bowls. This is what I gave Kalros, he said. The warriors stared at the food. They had never seen anything like it. Their food came in tubes and packages. Gray paste that kept them alive but gave no pleasure. It smells ... Double Koiter said. Good, another. Warrior finished. Impossible, Vorthek said. But he was sniffing too. Dongyun picked up a bowl and took a bite. See? Not poison. Kalros walked over and took a bowl too. He ate slowly, enjoying every bite. Better than ration paste, he said. Riker looked at Vorthek. Commander? Permission to test the human food? Vorthek was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded once. Riker walked to the table carefully. He picked up a bowl. He sniffed it. His eyes went wide. He took a small bite, then a bigger bite. Then he sat down and ate the whole bowl without stopping. By the ancestors, he whispered. This is amazing. The other warriors looked at each other. One by one, they came to the table. They tried the food. The sounds they made were like purring. Happy sounds? Surprise sounds? How? One warrior asked. How does it taste so good? I grow it with care, Dongyun said. I cook it with care. I share it with care. Care? Vorthek said. He had not tried the food yet. What is care? Dongyun thought about how to explain. Care is when you do something not because you have to, but because you want it to be good. Why would you care about our food? Because you are hungry. Because Kalros is my friend. Because sharing food makes everyone happy. Vorthek looked at his warriors. They were all eating and making happy sounds. They looked more relaxed than he had ever seen them. This is not normal, Vorthek said. No, Dongyun. Agreed. This is better than normal. Slowly, very slowly, Vorthek walked to the table. He picked up the last bowl. He looked at it for a long time, Then he took a bite. His golden eyes went very wide. He made a sound deep in his throat. Not angry, not threatening, surprised. He finished the bowl. I have never tasted anything like this, he said quietly. Because you have never been given food made with care, Dongyun said. We are warriors, we do not need care. Everyone needs care, Dongyun said. Even warriors. Vorthik looked at Dongyun differently now, not like he was looking at a bug. Like he was looking at something he did not understand, but wanted to. Human, Vorthik said. My name is Dongyun. Donghyan, Vorthik tried to say. You have confused my warriors. How? They are happy. Warriors should not be happy. Warriors should be ready for battle. Can't warriors be both? Vorthik did not answer. He was thinking. In the distance, more. Ships appeared in the sky. Bigger ships, a whole fleet. Command ships, Kalros said. The real leaders are coming. Is that bad? Dongyun asked. I don't know, Vorthik said. You have made everything complicated. The new ships began to land. The ground shook again. What do I do now? Dongyun asked. The same thing you did for me, Kalros said. Be yourself. Will that be enough? We are about to find out. The biggest ship landed last. It was twice as long as the others. Dark bronze metal gleamed in the afternoon sun. Strange symbols glowed blue along its sides. Flagship, Vorthik said. His voice was tense. Commander Thane is here. Is he dangerous? Dongyun asked. Very, Kalros said. He has fought in 50 wars. He does not like surprises. The flagship's ramp lowered with a loud hiss. Smoke poured out. Heavy footsteps echoed from inside the ship. The figure that walked down the ramp was huge. Even bigger than Vorthik. His armor was black with gold trim. Scars covered his face and arms. One of his horns was broken off. Behind him walked 12 more warriors. These ones looked different, older, more dangerous. Their weapons were bigger and more complex. Elite guard, Vorthik whispered. The best fighters in the fleet. Commander Thane stopped in front of the group. His golden eyes swept over the scene, empty food bowls. Warriors sitting casually. Dongyun standing calmly between aliens who could kill him with one swipe. Vorthik? Thane said. His voice was like grinding rocks. Report. Sir, we recovered Soldier Kalros. He was assisted by this human. Assisted? Healed. Fed. Protected. Thane looked at Dongyun like he was looking at a strange insect. Human? You helped one of my soldiers? Yes, Dongyun said. Why? He was hurt. That is not a reason. That is a statement. Dongyun thought about how to explain. Where I come from, you help people who are hurt. It doesn't matter who they are. Even enemies? He wasn't my enemy. He was just hurt. Thane walked closer. Each step shook the ground. Do you know what we are? Kalros told me. You fight the dark things that eat worlds. We are the Draknari Empire. We have conquered 1,000 systems. We could destroy your world with a thought. But you won't. Why won't we? Because you're here to save it, not destroy it. Thane's eyes narrowed. You think you understand us? I think you're tired, Dongyun said. Tired? Tired of fighting, tired of war, tired of only destroying things. Thane made a sound like an angry growl. Warriors do not get tired. Everyone gets tired. You speak like you know about war, little human. Have you ever fought? No. Have you ever killed? No. Then you know nothing. Dongyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I know about growing things. I know about taking care of things. I know about making things better instead of worse. Useless skills, are they? Thane looked around at Vorthik's warriors. They were still relaxed from the meal, still happy. You have made my soldiers weak. I gave them food. You gave them pleasure. Warriors do not need pleasure. Why not? Because pleasure makes you soft? Soft warriors die? Dongyun walked over to where he had planted the seed with Kalros. The tiny green shoot was still there, growing. Commander Thane, Dongyun said, I want to show you something. I do not have time for games. It's not a game, it's a test. Thane's eyes sharpened. What kind of test? You say warriors only destroy things. I say everyone can create things. Let me prove it. How? Dongyun knelt by the tiny plant. Grow something, anything, if you can. Make one living thing grow, I'll admit you're right. Warriors can only destroy. And if I cannot? Then maybe you'll admit I'm right. Everyone can create, Thane laughed. It was not a nice sound. You want me to play in the dirt like a child? I want you to try something new. I am a fleet commander. I do not play games with primitives. Then you're afraid, Dongyun said quietly. The elite guards tensed. No one talked to Commander Thane that way, but Thane just stared at Dongyun. Afraid? Of gardening? Afraid of failing. Afraid of looking weak. Afraid of trying something you might not be good at. I fear nothing. Then try. The two stared at each other. Around them, warriors watched, waiting. Finally, Thane spoke. If I do this foolish thing and I fail, what then? Then we keep trying. Until you succeed. And if I succeed? Then you'll have learned something new. Thane was quiet for a long time. Then he walked over to where Dongyun was kneeling. Show me. Dongyun got his small shovel and a handful of seeds. First, we dig a hole. He showed Thane how to break the soil. The commander's claws were huge and sharp. They were made for tearing armor, not gentle work. Smaller, Dongyun said. More careful. Thane's first attempts destroyed the dirt. He dug too deep, too rough. This is impossible, Thane growled. My claws are weapons, then use them like tools instead. It took an hour. Thane grew more and more frustrated. His elite guards watched their mighty commander struggle with a tiny hole in the dirt. Some of the younger warriors came closer. They wanted to try too. Can I attempt this? Riker asked. Dongyun gave him a seed. Soon, half the warriors were kneeling in the dirt, trying to plant seeds. Most of them failed at first. Their claws were too big, their movements too rough. They were built for war, not gardening. But they kept trying. Why are you all doing this? Thane demanded. It's interesting, one warrior said. It's peaceful, said another. It's different, Riker added. Young warrior Zix was working very carefully with his seed. His tongue stuck out in concentration. His claws moved slowly, gently. I think I did it, he said. Everyone gathered around. Zix had planted his seed perfectly. The hole was the right size. The dirt was packed just right. Now water, Dongyun said. Zix watered his planted seed with shaking hands. He looked proud and nervous at the same time. How long until it grows? Zix asked. A few days? And then? Then you'll have created life. Zix stared at the wet dirt with wonder. I will have made something grow? Yes, not destroyed. Not conquered, created, yes. Thane watched his youngest warrior stare at the dirt where he had planted a seed. The old commander's face was thoughtful. Commander, a new voice said. Everyone turned. An old Draknari was walking down the flagship's ramp. She moved slowly but with dignity. Her scales were silver with age. Her eyes were wise and deep. Elder Nehru, Thane said. He bowed his head respectfully. I felt the ship's land, Elder Nehru said. I came to see what was so important. She looked around at the scene. Warriors kneeling in dirt. Seed packets scattered on the ground. Dongyun teaching aliens how to garden. Interesting, she said. Elder, Thane said. This human claims he can teach warriors to create life. And can he? Young Zix has planted a seed. Elder Nehru walked over to where Zix was still staring at his planted seed. She knelt down beside him. Tell me about this, young warrior. I put a seed in the dirt, Zix said excitedly, and the human says it will grow into a plant. I will have made life. How does that feel? Different. Good different, like winning a battle, but backwards, Elder Nehru smiled. It was the first smile Dongyun had seen on any Draknari face. Commander Thane, she said, we should talk. About what? About what happens when warriors learn to create instead of just destroy. She stood up and looked at Dongyun. Human, what is your name? Park Dongyun. Dongyun. You have done something remarkable here. I just shared some food and seeds. You have shown us a new way to be strong. I don't understand. For 10,000 years, we have only known how to fight, how to conquer, how to destroy our enemies. She gestured at the warriors still playing in the dirt. You have shown us something we forgot long ago. What? How to grow? Elder Nehru turned to Thane. Commander, I believe we need to reconsider our plans for this world. What do you mean? Perhaps instead of evacuating these humans, we should learn from them. Thane's eyes went wide. Elder, that is unprecedented. So is teaching warriors to garden. She looked back at Dong Yun. Human, if we stayed here, if we learned from each other, what would you teach us? Dong Yun thought about it. How to take care of things, how to grow food, how to be patient, how to help instead of hurt. And what would you want to learn from us? How to protect the things we grow. How to fight the dark things that want to eat our world. Elder Nehru nodded slowly. An exchange. Farmers and warriors learning from each other. The council will never approve this, Thane said. Then we will have to convince them, Elder Nehru said. Just like this human convinced our warriors to plant seeds. She smiled at Dong Yun again. Farmer Dong Yun, would you be willing to speak to our war council? Me? I'm just a farmer. You are the farmer who changed everything. The war council meeting was held inside the flagship. Dong Yun had never been inside an alien ship before. The walls glowed with soft blue light. Everything was smooth and curved like the inside of a shell. 20 Draknari commanders sat in a circle. Their armor gleamed under the strange lights. Their golden eyes all watched Dong Yun as he walked to the center of the room. Elder Nehru sat at the head of the circle. Commander Thane sat to her right. To her left sat another commander. Dong Yun had not met. General Korath, Kairos whispered. He commands the main battle fleet. General Korath was even bigger than Thane. His armor was deep red with black markings. Battle scars covered his visible scales. He looked at Dong Yun like he wanted to. Step on him, council members, Elder Nehru said. We are here to discuss a new proposal. Alliance with the human species instead of evacuation. Several commanders made angry sounds. Their scales darkened with displeasure. Impossible, General Korath growled. Humans are primitives. They have no weapons, no ships, no armies. They cannot help us fight the swarm. Perhaps, Elder Nehru said. But they have something else, something we have forgotten. What? The ability to create, to grow, to heal. Useless skills in war, are they? Elder Nehru gestured to Dong Yun. This human healed one of our soldiers, fed our warriors, taught them to grow life. All without weapons, all without force. So perhaps there are different kinds of strength. General Korath laughed harshly. The swarm does not care about gardens. They consume everything. Only military power can stop them. Human, Thane said. The council will hear your words. But know this, if you waste our time, there will be consequences. Dong Yun stepped forward. His heart was beating fast. These alien commanders could destroy his entire world with a word. But he had to try. Thank you for listening, he said. I know you think humans are weak. I know you think we can't help you fight. Correct? General Korath said. But you're wrong about what makes someone strong. The commanders shifted restlessly. No one spoke to them this way. You think strength is big weapons, fast ships, powerful armies, but real strength is different. Explain, Elder Nehru said. Real strength is getting up every morning and taking care of things, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when no one thanks you. That is not strength, General Korath said. That is just ... existing. Is it? Dong Yun looked around the circle. How long have you been fighting the swarm? 200 years, Thane answered. And in those 200 years have you won? Silence. Have you beaten them completely? No, Elder Nehru said quietly. We have only slowed them down. Because you're fighting them the wrong way, General Korath stood up angrily. How dare. We have lost millions of warriors fighting these monsters. And I'm sorry for that, Dong Yun said. But think about it, the swarm consumes things. They eat planets, they destroy life, so you fight them by destroying them? Yes, but that means you become destroyers too. You become like them. We are nothing like the swarm, aren't you? You travel from world to world. You take what you need. You decide who lives and who dies. How is that different? The commanders were very quiet now. Even General Korath sat back down. We protect life, Thane said. The swarm destroys it. Do you, or do you just move it around? Save some, sacrifice others. Elder Neru leaned forward. What would you do differently? I would grow things. I would heal things. I would make things stronger instead of just fighting the things that make them weak. The swarm cannot be healed, General Korath said. Maybe not. But the worlds they attack can be, the people they hurt can be, the damage they do can be fixed. With gardening? General Korath's voice was mocking. With care, with patience. With the knowledge of how to make things grow instead of just how to make things die. Commander Vorthik spoke for the first time. Human, show them what you showed us. What? The seed. Show them what Zix grew. Dongyun reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small pot. Inside was Zix's plant. It had grown in just 3 days. Green leaves reached toward the light. Warrior Zix planted this seed, Dongyun said. A warrior. A destroyer, but he created life. He walked around the circle, showing each commander the small plant. How did it feel, Zix? Dongyun asked. Zix was standing guard by the door. He looked nervous to speak in front of so many commanders. Good, he said quietly. Different good, like I made something instead of broke something? Would you like to do it again? Yes, very much. Why? Zix thought for a moment. Because when I fight, things end. When I grow things, they begin. Elder Neru smiled. Beautiful words, young warrior. But pretty words don't stop the swarm, General Korath said. Maybe they do, a new voice said. Everyone turned. An old human woman was walking into the room. She had gray hair and kind eyes. Behind her were 3 more humans. Grandmother Kim? Dongyun said with surprise. What are you doing here? I heard aliens landed on your farm, she said. I brought food. She was carrying a large pot. The smell that came from it made all the Drakneri sniff the air hopefully. I also brought my grandson Minho, he's a doctor, and my neighbor Haijin, she teaches children, and Sungho. He builds things. The 4 humans walked calmly into the room full of alien warriors. They showed no fear. You brought civilians to a war council? General Korath demanded. I brought helpers, Dongyun said. Grandmother Kim set her pot down and started serving food to the commanders. Just like that? Like they were neighbors at a community dinner? Eat, she said to General Korath. You look hungry. I do not eat primitive food. Try it first, then decide. She handed him a bowl. The smell was incredible. Rich soup with vegetables. And herbs. General Korath looked at the bowl suspiciously. Then he looked at the other commanders. Some of them were already eating and making happy sounds. He took a small sip. His eyes went wide. This is good, he said with surprise. Of course it is, Grandmother Kim said. I made it with love. Love? Care, attention, the desire to make people happy. Why would you want to make us happy? We could destroy your world, because unhappy people make bad decisions. Happy people make good ones. Dr. Minho stepped forward. Commander, may I see your scars? General Korath tensed. Why? I'm a healer. I help hurt things get better. These scars are from honorable battles. I'm sure they are. But do they still hurt? General Korath was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Let me help. Dr. Minho pulled out a small jar of ointment. This will reduce the pain. It's made from earth plants. He applied the medicine to General Korath's oldest scar. The big alien's eyes closed with relief. Better? Much better. How? Plants have healing power. We've been learning about it for thousands of years. Teacher Hygiene sat down next to young Zix. Can you tell me about your plant? Zix showed her his small pot proudly. I grew it, from a seed. It's alive because of me. How wonderful. Would you like to learn more about plants? Yes, what else can I grow? Builder Sungo was looking at the ship's walls. This metal is amazing. How do you shape it? Bioforging, Commander Thane said. Why? I work with bamboo and wood. Natural. Materials that grow and change. Maybe we could combine our methods, make ships that can heal themselves. Heal themselves, living ships. Ships that grow instead of being built? Thane's eyes lit up with interest. Elder Nehru watched it all. Humans and aliens talking, sharing, learning from each other. General Korath, she said. Do you still think humans are useless? General Korath looked around. His warriors were eating and laughing. His youngest soldiers were learning about plants. His engineers were discussing new technologies. No, he said slowly, they are surprising. Surprising? Enough to try an alliance? General Korath was quiet for a long time. Then he looked at Dong Yun, human farmer. If we agree to this alliance, what do you promise us? I promise we'll teach you everything we know about growing things, about healing things, about taking care of things. And what do you want from U.S.? Teach us to protect the things we grow. Help us fight the things that want to destroy our world. The swarm will come here eventually. Then we'll be ready, together. General Korath stood up. He walked over to Dong Yun and held out his massive clawed hand. Alliance, he said. Dong Yun shook the alien general's hand. Alliance, he agreed. Outside, more ships were landing. Human. Ships this time. Scientists and farmers and doctors and teachers. Coming to meet their new alien friends, the real work was just beginning. 6 months after the alliance began, Dong Yun's farm looked completely different. His rice fields now stretched for miles, watered by Draknari technology. Alien and human workers labored side by side, planting crops that would feed both species. Kalros had become the official ambassador between their peoples. He still wore his armor, but now it had small pots attached where he grew herbs. He called them his peace plants. The first harvest ships are ready, Kalros told Dong Yun as they walked through the expanded fields. We will take Earth food to 12 damaged worlds. Planets the swarm attacked but didn't destroy. Will it help? Your potatoes can grow in almost any soil. Your rice can survive in harsh conditions. Your apple trees can restore dead ground. Yes, it will help very much. They stopped by a new section where young Draknari warriors were learning to farm. Zix was teaching a group how to plant beans. His small pot plant had become a large garden. Gently, Zix was saying, plants are alive. Treat them like friends, not enemies. A newer student, a warrior named Kess, struggled with her claws. This is harder than combat. Because combat destroys quickly, Zix said. Growing takes time and care. But it's better? Much better. When I destroy something, it's gone forever. When I grow something, it can make more of itself, forever. Dr. Minho had set up a medical center in one of the Draknari ships. He was teaching alien healers about earth medicines. They were teaching him about advanced Draknari healing technology. This plant extract can heal bone fractures in hours, Dr. Minho explained to his mixed class of human and alien students. But only if prepared correctly. Builder Sungho was working with Draknari engineers on new ship designs. Their latest creation was amazing, a ship that could grow its own repairs using modified earth fungus. Living ships, Sungho said proudly. Ships that heal themselves, ships that get stronger over time instead of wearing out. Everything was going well. Too well, on a quiet Tuesday morning, the warning sirens began to wail. Dong Yun was in his kitchen making breakfast when Kalros burst through the door. They're here, Kalros said. His scales had turned dark with fear. Who? The swarm. Through his window, Dong Yun could see the sky turning black. Not clouds, ships, thousands and thousands of dark ships blocking out the sun, the swarm had found. Earth, within minutes, Draknari warships were launching from the surface. Human fighter jets scrambled from nearby airbases. The first space battle in Earth's history had begun, but this battle was different from any the Draknari had fought before. All units, General Korath's voice crackled over the radio. Remember, Your training, we protect. We do not just destroy. The swarm ships were like giant black insects. They moved in perfect formation, seeking to land and begin consuming the planet's life force, but the defenders were ready with new tactics. Sung-Ho's living ships are working perfectly, Commander Thane reported. The biohulls are adapting to swarm weapons automatically. Dr. Minho's medical teams are standing by, came another report. Wounded ships and crews can be healed and return to battle in minutes. On the ground, the defense was equally innovative, spore release now. Teacher Haijin called out, human aircraft began releasing clouds of modified Earth fungus into the atmosphere. Dr. Minho had developed it specifically to attack swarm biosystems. The results were immediate. Swarm ships that flew through the spore clouds began to slow down. Their dark hulls started changing color. The fungus was eating their armor from the outside. It's working. Zik shouted from his position in the fields. The bioweapon is working! But the swarm adapted quickly. Larger ships began descending, ships too big for the spores to affect fast enough. Ground teams, prepare for landing. General Korath ordered. The largest swarm ship touched down in the valley below Dongyun's farm. It was the size of a small city. Dark tentacles erupted from its base, seeking to tap into the Earth's life energy. We have to stop it before it roots completely, Kalros said. How? Dongyun asked. The old way, direct assault. But as Drakneri, warriors charged toward the massive ship, something unexpected happened. The plants in Dongyun's fields began to glow. What's happening? Dr. Minho asked over the radio. I don't know, Dongyun said. He was staring at his crops in amazement. The plants are ... fighting back? The rice, vegetables, and fruit trees that had been grown with both human care and Drakneri technology were releasing energy. Bright green energy that flowed like water toward the swarm ship. Wherever the green energy touched the dark tentacles, they withered and died. The Alliance plants? Teacher Haijin said with sudden understanding. They're not just Earth plants anymore, they're hybrid plants. Part Earth biology, part Drakneri technology. And they're immune to swarm consumption, Dr. Minho added excitedly. More than immune, they're poisonous to the swarm. All across the planet, Alliance farms began glowing with the same green energy. The carefully tended crops that humans and aliens had grown together were creating a planetary defense system. The swarm ship in the valley began to smoke and crack. Its tentacles retreated. The dark hull started turning gray as the hybrid plant energy overwhelmed its systems. All swarm ships are retreating, Commander Thane reported. The plant energy is spreading through the atmosphere. They can't survive here anymore. Within hours, the entire swarm fleet was fleeing Earth's solar system. We did it, Kalros said in amazement. We actually did it. How? General Korath asked over the radio. How did plants defeat the swarm when our weapons barely slowed them? Down? Because the swarm feeds on life energy, Dr. Minho explained. They're parasites. But our hybrid plants aren't just alive, they're super alive. Enhanced by both human care and Drakneri technology. The swarm can't consume them, instead they get consumed. Like a virus meeting an immune system, Teacher Haijin added. Like weeds meeting a garden, Dongyun said quietly. The celebration lasted for days. But more importantly, the victory opened new possibilities. 12 more worlds want to join the Alliance, Elder Nehru reported at the next council meeting. They've seen what we accomplished here. And 17 damaged worlds. Want our help restoring their ecosystems? Builder Sinho added. The Galactic Agricultural Corps is officially approved, General Korath announced. We'll spread this hybrid farming technique to every world we can reach. What about the swarm? Dongyun asked. Still out there? Kalros said. But now we know. How to fight them, not with weapons, but with life itself? 1 year later, Dongyun stood in his original rice field. It was much larger now, but he still liked to visit the spot where everything had started. Kalros found him there, as he often did in the evenings. The latest reports are good, Kalros said. 37 worlds now have hybrid farms. The swarm has retreated from 6 more systems. Good, Dongyun said. But that's not why you're here. No, Kalros smiled. It still looked strange on his dragon-like face, but it was genuine. I wanted to show you something. He led Dongyun to a new section of the farm. Here, dozens of young humans in Drakneri were working together. Planting, watering, harvesting, laughing and talking in a mixture of languages. The first graduating class of the Alliance Agricultural Academy, Kalros said proudly. They'll go out to new worlds and teach others. Farmers and warriors working. Together, Dongyun observed. Farmer warriors, Kalros corrected, a new kind of person. Someone who knows how to grow things and how to protect them. They watched the young people work as the sun set. Human and alien, side by side, preparing seeds that would someday feed the galaxy. Do you ever regret it? Kalros asked. Helping me that night in the storm, your quiet life is gone forever. Dongyun thought about it. His farm now hosted thousands of visitors. Scientists, diplomats, students, and farmers from dozens of worlds. His simple life had become the center of galactic attention. No, he said finally, I don't regret it. Why not? Because this is better? Feeding one person is good? Feeding a galaxy is better, even if it's harder? Especially because it's harder, the best things usually are. They stood together as the stars came out. Somewhere among those stars, the swarm still lurked. But also among those stars were worlds learning to grow instead of just survive. Worlds where former enemies had become partners. Worlds where the simple act of planting a seed had become an act of hope. Kalros, Dongyun said, yes? Tomorrow we start the new expansion project? Yes, 500 more acres. Mixed crops for the Centauri system. Good, Dongyun smiled. We'll need bigger shovels, and more seeds, lots more seeds. As they walked back toward the farmhouse, where dinner was waiting and friends from two worlds were gathered around the table, Dongyun reflected on how much had changed. It had all started with one simple choice. Help someone who was hurt. Share what you have with someone who needs it. From that small seed, a galaxy-spanning alliance had grown, and it was still growing.